Alright guys, time to pull the short block out of the, what year model is this Outback? This is the white Outback I bought, I believe, last year. You saw the time lapse of me loading on the trailer and bringing it out of that Toyota dealership. And it is model year is a 2000, and it's got an EJ 251. Just getting the short block out of this, and this has got blown head gaskets. We're going to use this short block and new gasket set and the EJ 253 heads intake and everything else off of the 2005 Forester to get that a good running engine altogether. So a lot of this has already been disassembled from the guy who owned it before me that was going to do the head gasket repair and didn't get it, so helps me out a little bit removing everything. So that said, let's get to it.
Well, that sucks. Been out here in the hot sun for, I don't know, about 8, 9, 10, 3 hours or so. Pulling the heads and getting the short block out because I was going to use it for the Silver 2005 2.5X Forester 5-speed because it's got a rod knock. And as far as I was informed, this car ran well. It just had a blown head gasket. But I want to show you guys why I cannot use this block now, and it is ruined. Well, it could be saved, but not for what my intents and purposes are. This is what happens when you have a blown head gasket on a Subaru, a known blown head gasket, and you let it sit for a year or two before you get to replacing it. I've seen this 3 different times now. So I don't know how well it's going to come up on the GoPro. Might have to switch to the 6D. But as you can see on this cylinder here, perhaps nice, clean, shiny. You can still see the cross hatching in the bore. This cylinder though, you can see from here to here, there is pitting. When I pulled the head off, there was a ton of corrosion in here from coolant that had set in the cylinder. And it doesn't take much time for water and coolant sitting in here to take the oil film off and start corroding these cylinders. So from about here to about here, that's the bad thing about gravity in a Subaru Boxer engine. It's going to sit in here. If it was a traditional 4-cylinder, the coolant would just leak past the rings and go into the oil pan and sit with the oil and not cause any issues. But as you can see also in the coolant jacket, from the buildup and crystal-like material, I believe someone put some stop leak in this car at some point. That's what it looks like at first glance. And this is actually the first time I've seen a head gasket severely rust the inside of the combustion chamber here on that cylinder head. I actually knocked some of the corrosion off, but a lot of rust flake and build up on the spark plug. Hopefully it hasn't eaten these valve faces off, because these seem to be pretty good EJ251 heads I can use on something else. All the intake runners were very clean. All the valves looked good. They didn't look like there were any pulled down valve guides or anything like that. So quick decking at the machine shop, a hot tank and leak test, and these should be ready to go back on another engine. So at least I can salvage the heads. Might have to do a valve job on this cylinder just because of the amount of corrosion in there, but hopefully not. And looking at the head gasket on this cylinder, this side looks pretty good. There's a little bit of breakdown down here against where the coolant jackets are, but pretty much the coating is on all the way around. Flip this head gasket over, and you can see the coating is missing here, all through here, into the oil passage, all around here, and pretty much completely flaked off all around both of these cylinders, but looks like the water only got trapped in the rear cylinder here. Looking at the other head was very promising, and thought I was going to get away scot-free on this. The passenger side cylinder head looks to be in really good shape, and also the head gasket, I don't believe I saw any defects in it. Looks like it was still holding strong. Well, actually no, the old coolant that was left in the bottom of the block after they drained the radiator is starting to eat this gasket, but luckily it did not get through the gasket into the cylinders and corrode them like they did on the driver's side bank. We can take a look real quick in here, and it's still nice and shiny, and we can see that nice cross hatching still in the cylinder bores. So to salvage this block, I would have to split the block, pull the pistons out, and I don't know if this could be honed and cleaned up. It's kind of thick, the pitting on it, so it would probably have to be bore out. Would probably have to get an oversized piston, re-ring it, and cost, labor and all, I don't know if it's really worth it for an old EJ 251 block. So I'm probably just going to take this one, go ahead and finish removing this one, and use it for parts. I've got at least 3 good pistons, 4 good rods, a good crank, and at least 1 good block half. So lots of salvageable parts still. Again, I only paid $200 for this entire car. I've already made my money back on it. With the radiator out of it I needed for another car, and now the AC compressor, so this car is full and well paid for at this point for the $200 investment. I got plenty more parts to sell and plenty more money to make on it. So I might throw in some clips. If I did, you have already seen them, stills of the damage. But anyway, I'm probably just gonna finish up off camera, pulling the rest of this short block out. All I've got to do really is the 2 nuts on the bottom of the bell housing, 114 I believe on this side, the bottom nut for the starter, pull it out, and I believe I got 1 more 14 bolt over here, the 2 14 nuts on the engine mounts, and I should be good just to jack it up. I can probably pick this thing up and pull it out by hand. That's one of the good things about Subaru short blocks. They're pretty easy to handle. If I recall correctly, a short block with the oil pan on it's about 65 pounds or so dry, so not too terrible to manhandle on your own without killing yourself. So alright, I guess I'll be going to the junkyard or possibly tearing down the EJ 253 that was in the Forester just to see how bad the crankshaft is and how bad the rod is. I might be able to just have the crank polished and put a set of bearings in it and be good. That would probably be the cheapest route I could go at this point, but we shall see. I haven't even disassembled that engine yet. I pulled it Friday, put it on the engine stand, haven't touched it again yet, so we shall see. That'll probably be the next video, is tearing down that EJ 253, and we will be going into the short block, tearing it all the way down to the crankshaft, which is, I think, the first video I've shown of actually disassembling a short block. Leave in the comments below if you want me to do a time lapse of it, or if you'd rather me do a step-by-step DIY short block disassembly. So let me know in the comments below which way you want me to do it. I'll wait a day or 2 before I pull that engine apart, and we'll go from there. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.